discover the one archetype that was sucking the life out of me. It took me a long time, but I now know her as mermaid, which is kind of weird because I didn't even know she was a mermaid, or she was an archetype. I prefer to call her Mer because the maid is not a given. Just quickly to tell you, in case you haven't heard of that archetype either, she's a deep diver. She goes after not only her gifts, but her shadows. What we're almost always so terrified to find, both gifts and shadows. And she is compelled to serve with those gifts, sometimes at all costs. At all cost. And so, by literally tweaking this one archetype, awakening her, going into a place of love rather than fear, ultimately, I began to survive. And I never had to look back. You can clap now if you want. Yeah. And so the day came that I realized I had to start putting a life together again. I had recovered, I was well enough to work. It was time to make a living. And for sure I knew I wasn't going to get a job. I grew up in a family business and entrepreneur world. I knew that freedom, I wasn't going to go back on that. But I also at that point was very, very clear I was not going to go back into my family's business. And so I chose to run voraciously in every direction, following each one of my passions at the time. Those passions evolved, by the way, but at the time I was teaching yoga, teaching meditation, doing archetype workshops, writing songs, recording my CDs. And I actually found myself at the time a many-headed mermaid dragon because of it. I was identifying in so many different directions. I didn't know, if you asked me what I did, I would literally get scared and do this. I did so many things, I couldn't stand it. And so it was at that time I humbled myself to get some guidance. I had been a VP of marketing, so I thought, what am I going to need a business coach for? But after my son was born and the stakes were now high, I couldn't go on being a single hippie bohemian person like I am now. Again. And so I was able to, at that point, reclaim the whole of myself. I had seen my life purpose on what I thought was my death. I saw that, but I had no idea how I was actually going to put it together as one, never mind just business, but one life. And through we always have a helpers on our journeys. I put it all together, and I went from being a many-headed mermaid dragon with a multiple business personality disorder to being a business archetype and releasing coach for women entrepreneurs who also want to serve with their life's work, so they don't have to crash and burn like I did when they love too many things. Because as long as we live in a world of economic slavery, and every baby is born indebted to a corporation called its country, I am a stand for the value of one's life work. Because I believe this is what will heal the split between humanity and its freedom. Thank you very much. Before I sing, I'd really love to thank Michelle. You and I had a chance to talk about this before we got on, but this really was a beautiful opportunity for any of those out there who tell their story. And I've told my story thousands of times, but when I prepared for telling this story, it made me cry every time. Even yesterday, I'm still crying. I'm going, oh no. It was so powerful to bring it home and to plan it with such a methodical and timed. I didn't even look at the time. I'm not sure how my time was. But really, really beautiful, valuable experience. Thank you, Michelle, for creating this. It's not, the mic's not on. It's okay.
Anyone help me?
There you go. Nice. So this was a song I wrote by the river in India on my first trip. That was one of the first songs I ever wrote. And it was before I realized that I didn't need a boat to navigate deep waters. Some of you know this song, so if you feel like singing and joining in, I would love that. The boat is on the river and I'm going home. Oh Lord, let your sweet breath flow. The boat is on the river and I'm going home. Oh Lord, let your sweet breath flow. Oh Lord, let your sweet breath flow. Rock me gently so I can sleep and ease these waters black and deep. Navigate, show me the way. I lift my anchor way back on the shore. Trade this sorry world for an oh Lord, the boat is on the river and I'm going home. Oh Lord, let your sweet breath flow. The boat is on the river and I'm going home. Oh Lord, let your sweet breath flow. Oh Lord, let your sweet breath flow. Go on and blow your breath into my lungs. I may sing your song. Meditate in my heart. I'm unborn in your eternal arms. With your strength I face all raging storms. The boat is on the river and I'm going home. Oh Lord, let your sweet breath flow. The boat is on the river and I'm going home. Oh Lord, let your sweet breath flow. 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 You guys, thank you so much.
Woo! Single.